My name is Farzad Fatholahzadeh. I was working with CTV News Channel as a field producer on Saturday, June the 26th, when I was arrested and detained. We were at Queen's Park pretty much all day. That's where we were stationed. And you know, if you remember, Queen's Park was a designated free speech zone. That was the one area where people were allowed to stage protests and rallies. So we didn't really expect anything to get out of hand. So we were there for the morning protests, and which, you know, these labor organizations had their joint rallies at Queen's Park. Then that ended and everybody started moving towards Queen Street. So we followed them a little bit. We saw what happened, which was chaos, mayhem. You know, we saw the Black Bloc breaking away. We saw the, you know, we saw some media vans having their glasses smashed. There was a CBC van at the corner. So then we got a call to go back to Queen's Park, and we were a little disappointed. You know, we thought that's where the action was. But then by the time we got back to Queen's Park, maybe about 10 minutes later, that's when everything started happening at Queen's Park, because the police had pushed the crowd back to Queen's Park. We found ourselves in the middle of the protesters with the police advancing towards us. So the police just kept advancing towards us, and we saw and we shot rubber bullets and what we thought was tear gas, and we're still not clear to this point whether there was tear gas or not. So the police kept pushing the crowd, and eventually, you know, we were face to face with the police, and they just passed us by as if we weren't even there. You know, at one point I had just the police line just all around me, so they just let us stay behind the police line. So we continued shooting from behind the police line, and then I got a call from another producer, and she needed a tape from me. We couldn't feed it through the satellite truck because the truck was just too busy. My first impression was that there's no way, because she was on the other side of the police line. But then I decided to go take a look, see maybe if I could find her, maybe if I could see her, I could somehow get. I was just going to take a look. So I was on the phone with her, holding the disc in my hand, and I just spotted her when about a dozen cops approached me and told me to drop my phone, drop everything that was in my hands. So I did, halfway through the conversation. And they came over, they asked me what I was doing there. I told them I was media, showed them my pass. And they just kept telling me that I should have known better and that I wasn't allowed to be where I was, which was a few feet from where our truck and the rest of the crew was. And so I tried to, you know, reason with them, argue with them, but they just kept telling me to relax. And the thing is, I was really calm. I was just like, you know, we were basically allowed, because we talked to the police. After we were behind the police line, we were, you know, they were coming up to us, like having conversations with us. So, you know, so I kept trying to reason with her, and she wasn't buying it, so she ordered my arrest. So I had my hands tied behind my back and escorted to college in Spadina, where they had a bunch of vans and buses, and they were processing the people, the prisoners, the people who were being arrested. But the thing was, it was a good maybe 10-minute, 15-minute walk. And, you know, as we're walking, I have two officers on each side, and they're walking me, and the whole time I'm going, like, look, you know, I'm media, you know, there's my crew right there, they're shooting us, they're filming us, they can see us. And, you know, my reporter was talking to me, was asking me questions, so obviously I'm with them. So just trying to reason with the officers, and I'm like, let me go, like, this is a mistake. And one officer on my left he wasn't saying anything, but the other guy just kept going, okay, no, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's all going to get sorted out. We're going to let you go. I'm like, okay. He gave me the impression that by the time we got to the processing area, that they were going to figure out that there was a mistake and I was going to get let go, which didn't happen. So I did. They saw my past. They saw everything that I had, but they just kept passing the buck. Like, I can't let you go. The next phase will let you go. So that just went on until I was in a wagon, and then in a bus with other prisoners, and on my way to the detention center. And by the time I got to the detention center, I knew I was going to be there for a while. The detention center, I mean, my first impression, not just mine, but everybody on the bus, everybody, as soon as they opened the garage doors and the bus went inside, everybody just started saying Guantanamo Bay, because there are all these cages everywhere and people in orange jumpsuits sitting on the floor, you know? So it was just a big warehouse with cages everywhere. You kept getting transferred from one cage to another. It was cold. We kept asking for water. Some people did eventually get water, but no food during the time I was there. I know later that they were giving people cheese sandwiches, but not while I was there. So it was cold. It was disorganized, very disorganized. That was the impression I got. Some of the police officers, I mean, everybody I was with in the cell, there were a few people who, you know, admitted to doing something wrong, like spitting towards the cops or handing out flyers, things like that. But 99% of the people I talked to were saying I was just there. I saw it on TV. I wanted to go take pictures, and then I was arrested. Or I was walking home. I was arrested. Or I was going to work. There was a TTC employee who was going to Queens Park Station to start his shift, and he got arrested. And a lot of the officers seemed like they knew they were doing something wrong. Like they knew everything wasn't right. They seemed disorganized. I mean, like all these delays in getting food, water, your phone call, they didn't seem to me to be intentional. It was just because they had so many people to deal with at the same time. It was pretty obvious. For example, I felt my rights were violated when I couldn't get my phone call that I kept asking. And once I did get my phone call, I wasn't given this laminated card that we were all given. I have it right here with the CTV lawyers' names and all the emergency contacts that they dialed the phone for me. I felt like my rights as a citizen were violated when I was ordered to go through a strip search for no reason. And then later, you know, when we asked the police who was being subjected to strip searches, they told us that if they suspected that, you know, some of the detainees had weapons on them, that's when they would, you know, go through the strip search. But as a journalist, I mean, there were other journalists there too, and we just didn't know how much of it was intentional. We you know, because it was a mixed message. On one hand, you know, we had our reporters, and you know, we had some members of the media still out there among the protesters and among the police, but you know, randomly other people were just getting detained. I don't know how much of it was disorganization or fear. You know, maybe they thought that my past was fake. I don't know. Afterwards, people suggested that it might have been the black shirt that I was wearing that I never even thought about. So I don't know. I don't know why I was singled out, if I was singled out. In the end, my press credentials ended up getting me off easier. That's when one of the officers spotted the card in my belongings in the plastic bag where everything was, and told me that he was going to fast track everything and let me go.